order the Gateway Board of School Directors Study Session Meeting for Tuesday, January 8th, 2019. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we roll call, Bonnie?
Mr. Bova.
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Here.
Mr. Gottman.
Here.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Here.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Here.
Mr. McIntyre.
Here.
Mr. Ritter.
Here.
Mrs. Warning.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Do we have anybody in the audience who would like to comment on agenda items? Anybody sign up?
No one signed up.
No, seeing none. Move on to Section 5. Mr. Schott, Bills and Financial Reports.
Mr. Ritchie. Section B, we this evening present Sections B1 list of bills, the previously approved December 2018, and our first run for January 2019. Also, we have Section B2 monthly financial statements for the months of November 2018 and December 2018. And finally, Section B3 budget transfers for the month of January 2019.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Schott on those items? Seeing none. Section C, items previously tabled. Are there any motions from anybody to untable anything?
If
Nothing?
we wanted to talk about it,
You
will
have
we
to
have to
untable it.
untable it
Yes, sir.
first?
Yes, sir.
Which one you?
I would just like to ask if there's any status changes to any of those so that we would discuss them, but I can't even ask that until I untable.
I move to untable the discussion on the 360 group contract.
John seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to untable item 2 and contract with the 360 Group. Can I have a roll call on that, Bonnie?
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Yes.
Mr. Gottman.
Just
Yes.
untable.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Mr. Lapsevich.
No.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye?
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Ritter, you're up.
Okay, so what struck me last time we were talking about this was the extended amount of time between what today was about a month ago and where we will be 8, 9, 10 months from now when this contract finally ends. And I was wondering whether there's a way, there might be a way to speed up a final decision, a step forward, a break in the action, a way to get over the current wall that's there.
Yeah, kill the contract. I mean,
In what way, if we kill the contract, would we be able to therefore then immediately be able to go and sell the school?
well, we're not going to be able to immediately sell the school. And
Okay,
that's why.
right.
That's kind of the reason why I don't think the contract is useful to the district anymore.
Uh-huh.
Right now, we're waiting on a feasibility study that's still a matter of months away. I mean, we were just talking with Bob Brown today, there's still a lot of data going back and forth. There's still a lot of information that needs to be processed and analyzed to get back to us before we can even come up with whether we want to still sell it, and if we do, what that number would be.
Right, so I think we do have one new piece of information now that we didn't have a year ago when we first started looking into this and actually created the contract. We now know that it hasn't sold within the last year. In other words, we can take this new information to the intergovernmental meeting and the Monroeville Council, and we can report to them that the Gateway School Board has, through their contracted service, failed to be able to get a legitimate bid on the sale of the school as it's currently zoned. And we could ask them again if they would reconsider zoning a commercial to see if that would help offer us a better way to proceed more quickly. And if we have to re-engineer a contract, that's fine. With the same group, that's fine. I don't know, I don't care. What I'm saying is, I'm tired of being stuck. And if this is a way to help get us unstuck, why not let's try it?
A couple points on that.
Sure.
We can do that with or without the contract. And stipulated in that contract was a promise for them to help facilitate that rezoning. And as of now, we've had no effort, no assistance whatsoever from this group in trying to get that the council to turn the page on the rezoning.
If it was impossible for them to be able to get it rezoned until the council agreed to rezone it, which they didn't do, then we put them in an impossible situation, which is difficult on them. In other words, what I'm not trying to point blame, I'm just trying to point out the unsolvable pieces and try to find a way to solve them, that's all.
I
So,
understand that.
that's why I
don't
say
think
if we
council was
contract
gonna
with them
change- I
again,
don't think they were going to
I don't-
rezone in any way, but I didn't see anything coming from this group that helped us in that effort.
Right, nor
Before
did anything
six.
come from the school board, nor did anything come from the council. In other words, all three parties and all the sellers,
Well,
I mean all the
disagree.
buyers,
We met
all
as a
four
board
groups
and as
failed to.
the council at Gateway Middle and had a meeting. And if you remember, I felt like I kind of had to drag the gentleman from 360 up there, and he didn't really have anything prepared.
All right,
You know,
so.
that was, I think, a big opportunity to fulfill the contract and help facilitate this rezoning.
So
And
Rick and I
It
have-
simply didn't happen. think
Rick
it
and I
fell
have
short.
played the parts of refreshing some of the tension that's on this. So I'd like to hear from the rest of the school board members. Are you comfortable retabling this? Do you think we could find a way to break through this? Would another meeting with the Intergovernmental Council be a good approach, or what? What are your ideas?
I thought when we left off that once council find out what was going to go in there, they'd have no problem with the rezoning.
Right, and our buyers did not believe that because they did not, they wanted it to be zoned commercial first. They
So-
proved that to us, that they didn't buy council's argument.
And we currently have somebody else that's interested in the property, and I think the 360 group would like us to put an amount on what we would take for it.
We could do that.
And we could put 50
Sure.
million, whatever. And I also think that I don't know if we would get the same rate with the new company that we get the current rate we would get with the 360 group.
Well, I don't know, I don't care, that's a separate issue, but we're trying to tease out ways to move forward.
Well, that's a way to
So-
move forward too, is if
Are there
the
any other
rates-
thoughts before we tackle Scotty's concept of us coming up with some magic number? Go ahead.
360 Group's hands were tied. They did a phenomenal job at council meeting presenting the property, what, we were looking at to do. Council was set that they wanted to know what was going in there. So there was nothing anybody could do to move forward to have that rezoned. I mean, we were approved by planning, commission with everything to go to rezone it. But then when it came to council, they voted no. So that's the holdup, and I think maybe talking with council now through in a government meeting, they may lean to change, but that is something the board would have to do. I think there's
I think-
showing what's going in. I mean, we haven't tried for what has come to light of who wants to go in there, the interests. Until it is rezoned, you're not gonna get a buyer,
Well, I think the first thing we should do is put a price on it.
which.
All right, so
we
either
said.
we could put a price on it, or we could ask the council to put a price on it.
We can't put a price
Well-
on it until we finish our feasibility
I think it's silly for us to
study.
do it because we're not experts. I think it's silly for council to put a price on it, but we don't have a price. If that's the sticky point, then we need to find a way to make a price.
Well, we're in the process of doing that with our feasibility study and our estimates that we'll have on conditions of our buildings, renovations, and a reconstruction, which
And
we
the-
should have done, but
And the uncomfortable,
there's no sense in rehashing mistakes that have been made in the past. It's just
Right.
moving forward.
and the uncomfortable part of that is it's going to be a while until that feasibility study's completed.
And then a while after that, until we can come up with, based on what they give us, how we want to move forward. And, I mean, it's January. We're looking at a couple months to even get the feasibility back. And then a matter of a couple months for us to process it all and digest it. And by then, we're at the end of this contract anyway.
All right, so I'm aggressive. I would like to just try to meet with the council people in an intergovernmental committee meeting and see if they're amenable to just allow it to be changed to C3. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. If they are, then we don't have to wait for the feasibility study to be completed. We can start the paperwork of getting it rezoned C3 and then pick our next step forward there. Now, if they're against it, then we're already in line to wait for the feasibility study to complete, right?
Mr. Kalkstein, do you have anything to add as the chairman of the intergovernmental committee?
I think council's pretty clear as to what the next step would be.
I think they're not clear because
Get
they
by.
haven't heard from us tonight.
Okay, so hopefully they're
I don't
watching.
think we've sent anything new tonight.
No, yeah, I think we're still where we're at.
Okay, out loud, John has expressed our frustration.
They're aware of it. We've expressed it before.
So Mr. Kalkstein could reach out to his friends on the
I'd be happy to talk to
intergovernmental
him.
committee and see if anything has changed from the view of council.
They
Will that be
they don't
acceptable?
want us, they're not against us. They don't want us to be frustrated. They want us to succeed. We want them to succeed. So let's knock on the door again, see what happens, all right?
Sure.
Just to add into that conversation, Mr. Ritter, I've had a conversation with Mr. Senko via phone today, unrelated to the property or anything else, but he was recommending that we get together for an intergovernmental meeting in February.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
So I move to retable it now.
Second.
Okay, motion to retable by Mr. Ritter, second by Ms. Warning. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
All right.
Aye. And so is now a good
opposed.
time, is now a good time to bring up the high school stadium scoreboard? Can I untable that so that I can ask the same question about the status of that?
Are you making a motion to untable that, John?
I'm asking if I'm allowed to make a
You are
motion to
allowed to make a
untable.
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to untable item number 1, the high school stadium scoreboard issue,
Is there a second?
Second.
for the purpose of discussion.
There's a
Second.
second by Mr. Williams. Bonnie, you want to roll call that for me?
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein? Mr. Lapsevich?
No.
Mr. McIntyre?
No.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye?
Mrs. Warning?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Boba?
No.
Mrs. Cerucci?
No.
Motion carries to remove from the table.
It's open for discussion, Mr. Ritter.
Sure. Have we had any movement with the high school stadium scoreboard? Has anybody stepped forward and offered to purchase that on our behalf?
Where have you been?
Yes, we have. In other words, yes, we have. So if we have, then it's time for us to take it off the table so that they can make their offer and we can accept it, right?
Wow.
Actually, no. I think maybe we could hear from our Building and Grounds Committee Chairman, Mr. Jack Mova. Would you comment on this for Mr. Ritter, please?
I'm John, I'm serious, I'm having so much trouble following where you're headed this evening. Which question do you want me to answer?
We've had someone offer to purchase a scoreboard for us. I think we should be allowed to talk about it, and if they want to offer that, we should be able to accept it. It's not a voting meeting, so what we could do is untable this so that
Which we've done.
It's untabled, so we can talk about it.
So again,
we can
what
talk
do you
about
want me,
If,
We're not prepared to make a motion to purchase another school board at this time, which I
Right.
think is why it's staying tabled.
Right,
Because
so-
we're not prepared to vote for that because we don't have the final quotes.
goal is not to
put
vote.
before the board and the community
my
yet.
my
So
goal is to
it's
untable it so
tabled
that we can vote on
until-
it at the regular meeting.
We're not prepared to purchase this scoreboard at this time, so we're not prepared to vote on it at the regular meeting, Mr. Ritter.
So how can we know that without discussing it?
all right, so I'm not sure what you're asking. I met with Mr. Brown today to go over a number of things relating to buildings and grounds. I'm now the chair of this committee, and Mr. McIntyre was with me. And Mr. Brown had assembled a nice list of a dozen projects at least, ranging from fairly large to very large, and the scoreboard was on it. So he had information we've already seen about the two primary scoreboard vendors. We had heard from both of those folks, OES and Daktronics. In the past, you were here for those presentations. None of that has changed. Based on the homework he's done, he was prepared to kind of make a suggestion for which of those he recommends. Again, I'm not sure much has changed. We talked about the process that led up to his recommendation initially about OES and their scoreboard. Again, just my personal viewpoint was that, not unlike the sale of the school, this thing has been done in a sort of semi-backward way. my experience with projects is you spec out the thing that you want with the help of whatever experts you get. You send it out for bid and you get 0 to 10 bidders. You open them up, see what you got. Mr. Brown's hands were tied a little bit. He was kind of sent out to try to find some folks to do this, and 2 of them presented themselves in quickly and clearly. We spent a lot of time and energy. This scoreboard is not a life-changing device, and someone now wants to pay for it. So as far as I'm concerned, one electronic scoreboard that somebody can advertise on is as good as the next. I'm comfortable accepting Mr. Brown's suggestion as to which one we use going forward. I am not comfortable with the process that got us to this place, and Mr. Brown and I talked about various ways of making these purchases and the ways we're going to try to do it in the future. Again, we know about these 2 scoreboards. I could vote on it tonight. I could flip the same coin I'd flip and vote on it tonight, and let's get moving. But we're not prepared to do that, and someone else is going to have to weigh in on what else they need to be
No,
prepared.
that's fine.
Well, thank you,
was under
John.
the-
I appreciate
what
you
I'm saying
saying
is,
that's fine.
I was under the impression that we couldn't even ask questions or have staff members perform any research on an item that was tabled. But the research has been going forward, you've been meeting about it, and you've been talking about it, even though it's tabled. So my goal was to untable it, to unloosen your hands, to be able to walk forward with this, that's all.
Well,
Sure, committees can always give reports, and this would qualify as a committee report on the scoreboard. So just because it's tabled does not mean that, Mr. Bova and the Building and Grounds
Can't perform
Committee cannot
research.
talk about this or continue to work on it. So means we're not prepared to vote on it at this time.
And I think.
Wasn't
maybe-
talking about voting, was talking about
I
the,
think something that can help clear this up is there is an item on the agenda tonight, obviously we're not voting on it, but it's being introduced, so it will be on the meeting for the general board meeting, the regular board meeting, involving the purchase of the scoreboard. I think it's the thinking behind the administration for doing this as a new resolution or a new proposal as opposed to untabling the old one, is that time has passed. And since we didn't actually make the purchase when we had that deal, we had to then go back and touch base with OES to see what the numbers are, if anything has changed, and things like that. And I understand some of the numbers did change somewhat, and I believe maybe even in our favor.
then I think.
So it's a new resolution as opposed to untabling the old one and moving forward with that.
If that's true, and I think it is, why not let us dismiss this old resolution, now that we've untabled it and we have the freedom to get rid of it, let's get rid of it, and
Make a
let's
motion.
make a new approach.
You can make a motion.
Can I have a motion to vote on item 1, high school stadium scoreboard, which was the item previously tabled?
To vote to cancel it,
We have
to
to vote,
dismiss
we
it.
have to actually vote it as a no vote to get it off.
Right.
We need to vote it like it's up for a motion, and everybody needs to vote no.
Oh, I
And
see.
then it will be removed.
Thank you.
So I need a motion and a second
So
to
moved.
do that.
John
Can I have a
seconds.
second? Okay. I have a motion by Mr. Williams, a second by Mr. Ritter, and I need a roll call vote, please.
We have questions or comments?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mrs. Warren.
All right, so we remove this with what we have as a new proposal that we will have. We're not dismissing Mr. Brown, Dr. Short, the possibility of bringing in to purchase the scoreboard.
The resolution is still in place. We would be undoing and removing what was initially tabled.
Okay.
It's my understanding that the initial resolution has incorrect price. It has actually a higher price. So we don't want to vote on one with the wrong price anyway.
The price that's on, that we have for
This
this
is wrong,
evening,
right?
we got.
If I could
the
address,
i-
I actually have a copy of the original resolution, and this was a resolution that was approved at the April 26, 2018 regular meeting. There are a couple items in that resolution which are incorrect, but at the particular time, it was referenced that the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance, it would be purchased through that. That has since changed, it is through CoStars, which is a different, pretty big cooperative purchasing alliance. The other item, at the time, we had projected it at $300,000. We were at a more fine-tuned price, which is higher, $315,000, which would necessitate a additional resolution, because we're talking spending more money than originally approved here. So definitely, the original resolution needs to be withdrawn.
Voted down, yeah.
It's antiquated, and so now this is our
Wait
way
a
to
minute,
move
wait a
on.
minute. The original quote was 300,000.
Estimate.
Well, that was what was utilized on here.
The original resolution.
Can you do me a favor and just read the original resolution word for word so
I
everybody
just have a
knows
quick question
what we're
first.
voting on?
So we were thinking it was gonna be $300,000. We went through what we went through, decided we wanted to wait for a sponsor. How much did our new sponsor allocate for this scoreboard?
315,000. Now,
How did they get the number before we did? You know what I mean? Like, they gave us 315 when the original number was 300, and now it's 315 here.
when I wrote this, we did the number, and I used this in the resolution, approximately 300,000. The other item I tweaked in comparison to what I'll read here shortly compared to what's in section F is that I had to change it to not only purchase but also pay. One of the requirements listed in the contract was upon approval, upon issuance of a purchase order, we have to remit 50% of the cost of the scoreboard. So I wanted there to be no delay in that process. So again, it's a dual, the original resolution did not have that in it in terms of purchase and pay for the payments for that. But we'll get into more of those details when we get to that resolution. But just as a refresher, approval of the purchase of a new Gateway High School Stadium scoreboard as budgeted for in the Capital Reserve Fund budget, and the projected total amount of approximately $300,000 from OES Inc. through the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance contract to be installed and completed during the 2018-2019 fiscal year, as depicted in that exhibit at a particular point in time. So again, some things have changed since that particular point in time with that.
Is there any
I'm
further
just
questions?
confused. Yeah, I don't understand how our Student Transport Association got the 315
Wait a
number.
minute, Rick. That was in April. He had the bid. I don't know why
Our
you're
bid
saying
was
that.
I'm just confused. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I haven't slept enough. But our bid was for 300,000, and then they gave us 315, which ends up being the exact amount.
Between April to when the new resolution was written, we got an actual price.
I believe actually at the time, again, this was where the number was. It actually went to, I think, 350 at one particular point in time, and then fine-tuned down to ultimately $315,000 for that.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
I think you should vote to deny the resolution that's on the board so you get this off the table.
That's what we're trying to get to.
Don't keep talking about it,
Yeah, it
just
needs
do
to go.
that.
All right. I'm calling the
old
vote.
one,
Please,
yeah.
Bonnie, roll call, please.
Dr. Kalkstein? No. Mr. Lapsevich?
No.
Mr. McIntyre? Mr. Ritter?
No.
Mrs. Warning?
No?
Mr. Williams?
No.
Mr. Bova?
No.
Mrs. Cerrucci?
No.
Mr. Gottman?
Nope.
Okay. Moving on, section D.
Could we do this? Could we go out of order just for a second? We have someone here from the audience that we've invited, and he just has a very tight amount of time. Could we have 2 minutes to welcome a guest?
I'm sorry. Hello, Brandon, welcome. Congratulations on your new role as our state representative.
Thank you so much. I really do. Thank John for calling me and to bring me here today.
We apologize. We usually have cookies. We're sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. No, I'll just be brief tonight. I just wanted to come before you guys today just to have my office here in town be there for you. So if you have any questions, concerns, please call my office. And also, if I have things that do come across my table, I will be the first to call you guys, because we need this to be so that we have open, so that we have a dialogue that is open for all. So, and that's what I'm here today, just to let you know that if you have any questions, please feel free to call my office. It is 412-856, I'm getting all the numbers mixed up. 412-856, 8284, I'm sorry. I have like two phones. I apologize. But,
I have your cell phone, I'm gonna give that out.
that's fine too. I answer my phone all night, so please, because I'm here for you, not me. This is for the kids, for the school district, and that's what I'm here for, to make sure that our students have the best access to all programs. So if you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to call me. In terms of grant writing, any of that, please bring it into my office. That is one of the main things that is my focus is making sure that our students here have the best access to go on further in life. So that they have the tools so that whether they go to a college, if they go to a trade school, that they have those skills in place to be tax-paying citizens for our hometown. So on that note, I just want to say thank you. I know it's a very busy day today here, so I do not want to take up too much of your time. So I just really want to thank John for reaching out and also for the board for having me today.
We're here to serve you. Thank you very kindly, Brandon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. We definitely look forward to working with you, and we will be taking you up on the letter writing for our grants.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Please do. Please do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mrs. Rucci.
We're on Section D Personnel Agenda, and we do have an action item tonight, Mrs. Crump.
Thank you, Mr. Rucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the Personnel Agenda Item 1 as listed in Section D. We are asking for the employment of Rebecca Gill as principal for Ramsey Elementary at a salary of $92,000 with benefits as outlined in the Act 93 Compensation and Benefits Agreement.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, Bonnie, please.
Do you have any questions?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms.
We had a
Gill,
little
you-
discussion in the back where
You've
they're
seen
on
a bit of the
personnel.
way we operate, you still want to come to work here? Because this is an anomaly, this is what we do. I'll tell you.
Can we interest you in an ad space on the new scoreboard?
Take a moment, it's not too late.
Now you know why principals don't come to board meetings. Is there any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call, Bonnie, please.
Mr. Lapsevich.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman.
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Principal Grill.
For the public, we would like to introduce Ms. Gill,
You want to step to the...
Ramsey Elementary, currently employed at the Allegheny Intermediate Unit. We will be speaking with Roseanne at some point. Jaworski.
Tomorrow morning.
Yes. And determine a date for release. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you again to all of you. It's a pleasure to meet you before the meeting, and I am truly privileged to join the Gateway School District. Thank you for the meeting and for the preview, and I am just thrilled to work with the students, the families, the community, all of you, and support the tiniest Gators in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
All right, we have additional items, Mrs. Crump, for personnel that are non-action items.
Yes. Under resignations, we will have 2 at this time listed for next week's meeting. Under leave of absence, we have 4. Under transfers per the collective bargaining agreements, we have 7 listed. Under employment, we have 3 listed. Supplemental contracts, there are 8 presentations, and under volunteers, we have 2.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Crump? Give you a minute. None? Okay, Section F.
Next one.
Administrative resolutions, action item.
We have one overnight excursion. Dr. Chaky, could you take that item?
Yeah, the one item that we have listed is the overnight excursion FBLA GHS business class from April 7th to the 10th in Hershey, PA.
So moved.
Is there a second? Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Mr. Ritter.
Aye.
Mrs. Warning. Mr. Williams.
Aye.
Mr. Bova.
Aye.
Mr. Cerrucci. Mrs. Rucci? I'm sorry.
It's okay. Aye.
Mr. Gottman?
Aye.
Dr. Kalkstein? Mr. Lapsich?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, there's additional section F that is non-action items for discussion.
Dr. Shaky.
Section 1, final approval, new policy 218, metal weapon detection system or device. Section 2, 30-day public display of the revised policy 249. Section 3, student teachers, spring 2019. We have 2 potential student teachers listed. Item number 4, approval of the general fund budget tax rates not to exceed the index for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. Paul, you want to pick up on that?
Mr. Shaw, I could chime in on item number 4.
He's looking at you like, hey, that's mine.
That's fine with me.
That's mine.
Yeah, this is our annual resolution. We've done this the last several years. Basically, what it does, to summarize it, is that it indicates that the board will stick to the index for the 1920 fiscal year, which has been calculated by Pennsylvania Department of Education at 2.7%. Basically, the board certifies it will not increase any school district tax for the 1920 school year at a rate that exceeds the index as calculated by PDE. One of the other features that this resolution does is that district is not required to comply with the preliminary budget requirements that's set forth in Act 1. So it keeps us on more of a traditional budgetary timeline and enables us to do all the internal work that we do in terms of analyzing every line item in the budget and moving forward with the board and with our public and all of our stakeholders at all of our budget finance committee meetings as well.
Thank you.
Item number 5 is the annual approval of the various school supplies to be bid for the 1920 fiscal year as depicted. Item number 6 is another annual approval. That's approval of continued membership in the Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3's Joint Purchasing Program for the 1920 fiscal year, as depicted in Exhibit C. Item number 7 is the acceptance of a district donation received during the current 18-19 fiscal year, as depicted. Donation from CVS Health Foundation. Recipient is Amy Bear, teacher at Gateway Middle School. Utilization is for creek connections in the amount of $1,000. Item number 8 is the continuation of previous recognition of district booster clubs and support organizations for the 18-19 fiscal years depicted. These are primarily represent the winter sports. These are not all of the booster clubs and organizations at the district, but again, this is the second grouping of approvals we're bringing forward, and in similar fashion, we'll have other approvals in the spring to represent spring sports and any other organizations that have not already submitted necessary documentation to the district and have been recognized by the board. Item number 9 is another extension. Approval extension of actuarial services with Mackinac Benefits Group for continued required calculation of district's post-employment benefits other than pension liabilities, as depicted in Exhibit D. Again, just another requirement of something that we have to disclose in our annual audit report. And just as a dovetail note, at our regular board meeting next Tuesday, we'll have Jared Ewing from Zelnkowski Axelrod. He will be presenting the official results of our 17-18 fiscal year local audit. So again, just wanted to reference that as well. But again, this is a required calculation we have to do every 2 years, and it's time to do another calculation. Item number 10 is a new item. Approval of agreement to sell or purchase meals from sponsor to sponsor with the YMCA of Greater Pittsburgh for their Moss Side Middle School before and after school enrichment program. That's depicted in Exhibit E. Item number 11, I'll be presenting 2 vendors to perform various services. This is out of the general fund for the current 18-19 fiscal year. Specifically, Jungle Jim's Tree Service, Inc. for tree cutting and stump removal was applicable on Gateway Campus Boulevard in the amount of $14,000. And also BIPCO for the maintenance of landscape beds and courtyards district-wide in the total amount of $14,475. Item number 12 is a new item. Approval of the Tricog Land Bank's Notice of Intent to acquire 2 Monroeville properties located within the Gateway School District, specifically to acquire 2 Monroeville properties located within the Gateway School District, and the waiver of all applicable taxes, tax claims, and municipal claims due against the properties, and those two properties are depicted in Exhibit G. And note, these are the very first acquisitions of the Tricog Land Bank in the municipality of Monrovia or in the borough of Pitcairn. And item number 13, as referenced earlier, and I'll read the entire body of the resolution. Is the approval to approve the purchase and payment for a new Gateway High School Stadium scoreboard as budgeted for in the district's capital reserve fund budget in the projected total amount of $315,000 from OES Inc. through their Co-Stars contract to be installed and completed during the 18-19 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit H. Note, the above capital repair improvement project will utilize OES Inc. and any necessary subcontractors to assist in the installation of the new Gateway High School Stadium scoreboard through their Co-Stars contract. Student Transportation of America, or STA, will be sponsoring and paying for the $315,000 cost of the new Gateway High School Stadium scoreboard via one-time payment to the district on August 1st, 2019. This sponsorship payment will reimburse the district's initial payments required to be made to OES Inc. for the purchase of the new scoreboard.
Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Gottman.
I'd rather address this now while we have a week to digest all this. So on item 13, with the scoreboard, first off, I do agree with Mr. Bova. I wasn't really liking the process of how all this has gone down. And piggyback, I think what Mr. McIntyre was alluding to was the sponsorship was for $315,000, and all of a sudden OES is saying, hey, we'll buy it for $315,000. So my first concern is with Daktronics as the other competitor, have they been given an opportunity to price match that, or is their $348,000 their final offer? I don't know if I can answer that question first, and I can go into the next point.
You step to the microphone, please.
You knew it was coming, Bob.
That's why he's here. Generally, don't give somebody a chance in a competitive bid to go back and match somebody else's price. No.
Ask other vendors to match prices. That is not what we do. We have their bid from both companies.
Okay. All right. My second question is looking at the specs of everything here, because this is a big purchase, and I don't want to get something that's going to die down the road here. I understand the OES one would be bigger, but some of the things I saw that were kind of concerning, at least to me, was one, with the cabling. OES is their cable's a mixture of fiber and copper, whereas the Daktronics one, they're all fiber and will not short out or pass on surges.
Well, I believe Mr. Mike Brown sent out a sheet that was updated that the OES is also able to run on full fiber.
All right, so
We had a comparison sheet that was sent out, and he updated it possibly since you got that. I don't know when that was sent out to the board, but both companies are able to do full fiber.
okay, and the other big concern I found here, in terms of part availability, I remember earlier discussions, Daktronics was able to get their parts locally and have them on hand, whereas OES was a big concern. And that's concerning to me if something does go wrong down the road. This is a big purchase. I want to be able to make sure we are able to get the parts to repair it.
Well, I don't believe Daktronics has all the parts to repair it. They are a local company themselves, but they don't build, they install and supply it as a representative of Daktronics. It is actually ISI is their company. Daktronics is the scoreboard manufacturer. So there is a difference there. That since all this has come about, we refurbished our existing scoreboard. OES was the lower price that we had got. And even when there was a few bumps in the road, they were able to have everything here and up and running and taken care of. So to have every single part on hand, I think that's a little misleading from what you're understanding.
That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
What's the warranty comparison between?
They're both 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah. And we did ask both, just to see if it was a better proposition to extend that to 10 years, and they all recommended against that, that it wasn't worth it.
Okay.
So it's available, but both recommended against it.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Williams?
I was just commenting to Rick on a sidebar.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you. All right, are there any resolutions from board members this evening that are not noted on the agenda?
Yeah, something that came up during,
December policy meeting.
Our December policy meeting was looking at different, a lot of different things. One of the things I think we agreed on in the policy meeting and conveyed to the board was a particular, I don't know if you want to call this a regulation.
It's a regulation.
It's a regulation that's attached to policy 123.
Administrative regulation for cheerleading.
And it basically, it reads out like step-by-step procedures for cheerleading tryouts and how the coach must perform those tasks. And I'm going to make a motion at the next meeting that we eliminate this procedure. We don't do it for any other sport. I don't think we're going to sit here and tell Coach Hall who he should play or whether he should run a 5-3 or a 4-4 defense. So I just think it's a cumbersome piece of policy that we hired the coach to do the job. I don't think it's the board's duty to tell them how to do the job. So I'm going to be looking for the next meeting to have that eliminated.
Did you get that? He's going to be making a motion.
It'll be policy, it's 123.1-R.
I have it written down, Bonnie. We can meet to draft some language for that.
Very good. Anybody else?
That item was not on the agenda for the policy meeting. That was discussed ad hoc.
Correct.
That item was not on the agenda for the policy meeting. It was discussed ad hoc.
Okay.
See, the reason I'm bringing this up is the public was not aware that they would be discussed. They didn't have the opportunity to weigh in for or against it.
Well, they do now, because we're not voting on it tonight. Rick
I'm
has
just-
just presented it to the public, and it'll be an action item in a week. So if there are any comments from the cheerleading organization on that policy, they have the next week to make their voices heard.
Thank you, that's what I was after.
Rick's just asking that it be
You have
removed.
to vote on a regulation.
Next week.
Do you have to vote on a regulation? It's not a board policy, it's just an admin's.
I think you should vote on it.
All right, we'll vote on it, just.
Yeah, this gives the public a chance to look at it and see what they think.
Okay, are there any comments from residents on non-agenda items this evening?
Richard?
Seeing none from the vast audience. Reports. Officer Short.
Before I say a few words, I do have Mr. Brown here that we have as far as Act 44. Would you like to do it tonight or next week?
By the mandate, it should be on the agenda. So if we could just do it next week,
That would be fine, yes. The lead testing water fountain, so we're going to have a
Okay.
report next week from Mr. Brown on the status of the testing that we've done previously throughout the district. Yes. Also, as far as my report, January is
Superintendent? No.
Board
Board member appreciation.
School Board Recognition Month.
That doesn't sound real. No.
Believe it or not. No,
You're
there's,
making that up.
Bonnie, you attach some nice certificates right outside. And I get a mint.
Believe me, I get recognized every time I go through Chinese.
But I would personally like to thank each and every one of you. On cue.
Thankless job.
get better.
It is truly. I mean, when you think about all the investment in time and resources and everything you do for the children of the Gateway School District, Pitcairn and Monroeville, I truly, on behalf of the administration, want to thank each and every one of you. We have made tremendous strides over the last several years, and that is clearly in the results that we have made through our testing, PSSA, Keystone Test, our school rankings, our awards that we have won, but also in the climate of this district. I'm talking to a number of different board members. When things are good and it's quiet, we kind of knock on wood. And, you know, for the last several months, things have been excellent. It's a tremendous acknowledgement to our staff, our students, and everyone's buying in to the vision and mission of this board and the administration. So I personally like to thank each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Well done. Including Mr. Vogel.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
At least I can do.
Mrs. Bungard, do you have anything for us this evening?
Thank you, Mrs. Cerucci. Nothing at this time.
Dr. Chaky?
Just a reminder, next week on Thursday, January 17th, we're going to be hosting a Safe Schools community event at Gateway Middle School Auditorium. This is for all kids and families in the district, not just specifically Gateway Middle. And parents should be getting information from principals this week and also notifications from the district this week leading up to the event next week.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
Great. Dr. Rossi?
Nothing at this time.
Mr. Schott?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mrs. Crump, we hiring?
We are hiring, but I was going to thank our one we just hired tonight. Welcome to Gateway. We're excited for you to be a part of the family. I also wanted to recognize Mr. DeLucente. January 25th will be his last day. We wish him well and thank him for the service that he provided for the Ramsey families.
Thank you. Mr. Ritter?
Sure. I'm still looking for some music or events that we can display on the local cable access station. So if you're out there in the audience and you have some things that can and should be offered to us, we can render those and put them on the local cable access. Unfortunately, it's been off for about the last 3 weeks, and so we need to get that turned back on. And I found a person who can speak expertly about tuberculosis. There was a question as to whether or not some of the volunteers or the staff or other people need to have tuberculosis updated and what the schedule for that should be. So I found an expert who can speak just a minute or two about that to the board. I'm looking for some folks that can offer some community hours for our students. The students need to get community hours, so I'm going to have see if I can get on the schedule to have a presentation for some folks who are looking for some students to help them. And I'm still researching the possible display of the national motto in schools, and I'm still researching the possible use of advanced health IT in schools. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Mrs. Warning?
Just good luck to the kids. I know the midterms are coming up. They're taking Keystone testing, and rest up, guys. And good luck this year to everyone.
Thank you.
That's it.
Mr. Lapsevich?
Hello, good evening. I just have one thing to say. To Rebecca Gill, welcome to Gateway. Good luck to you, and if you ever need anything, you know, come to the board, and we'll try to do whatever we can for you in reason. Thank you.
Open invitation to attend every board meeting.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Mr. Bobo?
I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Dice? Anything else to add this evening?
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre?
Just to reiterate, Mr. Lapsevich, welcome to Gateway. And I want to thank Mr. D. Ramsey. He was my daughter's principal. You got some pretty big shoes, not literally maybe, metaphorically big shoes to fill. And it's a great building. You're going to be dealing with a lot of great families and great staff there, so best of luck.
Mr. Gottman?
Yeah, one with the.
That's Scotty's chair.
What? No.
Right.
No. All right, we're switching.
He's starting it. He's carrying on Neil's tradition.
Because Neil said, okay, I'm sorry.
Neil sat over there and talked about it.
Yeah, Neil sat over there.
As I was saying, with it being a new year, I am looking forward to new artwork that's gonna come up. Hopefully, we'll have some next week, if not next month, I hope. And just a reminder, we're now getting into like the really dark parts of winter, so and the temperature's gonna be dropping later this week and probably foreseeable future, so just bundle up outside. It's gonna be nasty. And with that, that's all I got.
Mr. Williams.
I just want to wish everybody a happy new year and great job tonight running the school board meeting.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Press.
Oh, and thanks everybody for my gift. I appreciate it.
The Nutcracker.
Dr. Kalstein.
Nothing further. Thanks.
All right, with that, I seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.